good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time you happen to be joining the podcast. We are thrilled that you are here for another episode of 3Squares. We've got a fantastic guest today, and my co-host Kevin Ryan and Susan Schwally is back. She's back with us. We were going to have a live podcast, and son of a gun, if COVID didn't take her down. So, Kevin, Susan, you want to introduce yourselves?
Sure thing. So here I am today with my still COVID voice. I work with call sites where I lead their sensors business and help bring to market the latest innovations in tech-enabled research methods, such as passive data collection and AI-powered moderation. And this helps brands get closer to their consumer.
And I'm
Excellent.
Kevin Ryan with Malachite Strategy and Research, helping food companies and restaurant companies with the front end of innovation and strategy.
And by the way, I am Charlie Arnott with the Center for Food Integrity and Look East, helping to keep the food system trustworthy. Now, Susan,
Mm.
I was reading this that your COVID. I mean, you had COVID, right? Long and you not
Yeah,
long COVID, but you've had it for a while, and then you got something else.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I was reading that you actually probably got that from eating kale. Is that consistent with your understanding? Probably
Well,
what
the
happened.
issue was I was eating kale and I did not massage it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Very
No,
important.
there's a thread in Reddit. I mean, COVID, cold, cough, congestion, kale. They
yeah,
all start with a hard C. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. I don't think
no,
so.
it's got to be something real.
Your kale
Clearly.
hatred, I'll tell you, it's
Yeah.
just,
Aaron, Charlie hates kale, and Kevin because it's too chewy and it's like he remembers it from being the the
No, it's
the
a scrub
corn.
brush. It shouldn't. It's not a
But he
food.
doesn't massage it. Kevin has told you have to massage the kale.
Yeah, and
massage
I'm not,
kale.
I'm not massaging my food. That's not going to happen. So, Erin made an interesting comment when we were having our panel that was going to be live in California. She said you sound much slower because she normally listens at 1.5 speed.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
So
I made
no
a
one,
tactical error there, so apologies.
that's okay. No one's ever accused me of talking slowly.
No,
So that's the
no.
first time ever. All right. So I guess just left a little faux pas there because I let our guest out of the bag. Erin Rolfes is with us. We're so glad that she came back for a second appearance because she was kind enough to join us in person in California at a members only meeting. She's the director of corporate communications and media relations for the Kroger company. As the company's spokesperson, she's responsible for enhancing and protecting Kroger's corporate reputation, shaping the brand narrative alongside the company's many lines of business. She joined Kroger in 2018 as the corporate affairs manager for the Cincinnati Dayton division, where she led media, strategic communications, government relations, community engagement, and philanthropy. So she has been with Kroger for a long time and has done a fantastic job. We'll talk about some of the interesting things that she has to do, but a bit more about Kroger before we do that, for those of you who may not know. They have more than 2,700 stores in 35 states, more than 400,000 employees. Annual sales exceed 150 billion. Most of that is not from kale. And their purpose is to feed the human spirit. Now, depending on where you live, you may not know Kroger as Kroger. You may know them as Ralph's or Dillon's or Smith's or King Soopers, Fry's, Harris Teeter, Fred Meyer, Pick and Save, Metro Market, Mariano's, and many others. So, if there's one thing the company knows best how to deal with, it's evolving consumer expectations from coast to coast, Kroger. And Erin, thank you for coming back.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so we're going to kick it off with a question that I asked that I think is fascinating, particularly in the environment in which we're living today with all of these microcultures. How is it that Kroger is a grocery retailer can appeal to all of these different consumers with their disparate interests, those looking for the best value, those looking for super premium, everything in between under all those different banners? So what is the approach of meeting consumers with varying needs and demands?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And I would start by saying what we're seeing right now is that everyone is searching for value. So even if you're looking at those premium products, if you're what is considered a least price sensitive customer, so folks who might be going after that Marie's cheese or that really nice bottle of wine, there's something that you still want at a value. So we're really focused on how do we provide value at every level and then make sure that folks don't have to compromise either affordability or selection when they're shopping our different stores. So one of my favorite things to do is encourage folks to try our brands. So that private label, which I know you want to talk about later, but it's really how do we create that selection that speaks to that picky eater or to the person who's just trying to get dinner on the table for a big family after soccer practice.
You know, one of the things that Kroger is known for is what your analytics. You really lead in the industry. Matter of fact, every market research company I've worked for works with 8451. And I'm curious, how does your approach and using that data inform these strategies that you're talking about?
Yeah, the data is really at the center of everything that we do. And it's so interesting to kind of dig into some of that customer data. And I shared this when we were in person. If you're ever seeing us move the peanut butter away from where you think it should be, that's one of the reasons is because we figured out that the peanut butter might actually be bought with ice cream because people want to make a little peanut butter sundae. So don't blame the poor humans who work in your stores. Blame our data analysts for messing up your grocery store aisle. But we really lean on it also when we're looking at some of these new product trends. So last year, we introduced more than 900 products. And a lot of that was based on what are consumers looking for? What are they shopping? And where can we maybe scoot in and offer something that's less than a national brand from a price point, but still has that same really great quality that folks will enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You mentioned about the private label, and yeah, I do want to dig into that. I mean, you're seeing so much private label growth, and I'm just curious for you, and for Kroger, like how are you looking at, the evolution of your store brand, and where's it going to go in the future, if you can say? I mean, where do you think it's going?
Yeah, it's been a really interesting thing to watch over the past 5 years since we started talking this conversation about COVID. Right when COVID hit, obviously people were concerned about what's the economy going to look like? Do I have a job? And it set off a period of economic uncertainty that I don't know that we're fully through yet.
Mhm.
And people tend to want to try our brands or private label in general more often when they're a little concerned about, their wallet and making that budget stretch a little bit more. So we do see people experiment more in the private label space when they're feeling the crunch, but we hope that they stay with it because they find something that they really enjoy. One of the things that I've seen us introduce in the past few years that has been really interesting is we took all of our entry price point products, which were disparate over about 5 different brands, and funneled them into one Smart Way brand. And I really loved the way that the marketing team thought about it. A lot of folks, maybe myself included, when you grew up, you wanted the Oreos and you wanted the Doritos when you had friends come over to play. But now we want to make something where folks are proud to put a private label product, whatever the brand level of it, on the table when they have guests come over. So the way that we looked at designing the Smart Way products is that it was an exciting brand, it was easy to identify, and that it was something that someone would feel proud putting on their table. And I just love the approach that the marketing team took for that.
Yeah, the thing that it really strikes me the most is, to your point, when I was growing up, private label was copies. It was a copy of the brand name. And now, I mean, to speak of Kroger, I have a King Soopers by me, and there's a lot of innovation. There's a lot of things I've never seen that, and Kroger's doing it. And I think that's fascinating to me, is that level of innovation has come to Kroger.
And what's exciting for us is that it gives you a reason to come to King Soopers because
Yeah.
you can only find that product there.
Mm,
My favorite is this spicy mac and cheese private selection that we have.
mm,
We'll get that every time. But that's something that you can only find at your store, and it's a differentiator and drives you to be loyal.
right.
You know,
That's very cool. Go
Charlie,
ahead, Susan.
can I jump in here because I
Yeah,
think I think my question really ties to what Erin just said, particularly about spicy mac and cheese and the fact that your banners have very specific private label offerings. So my question was really about, look, we know in general that consumers they think of the retailers as a more positively than they do sometimes the food manufacturers. And we know that they have very specific relationships with banners. So how are you creating that loyalty? Is one way, in fact, through private label? And are there other things that you're doing to make sure that people always come to you versus channel or banner hopping?
Yeah, it's so true. And when I'm out in the stores spending time with customers, and they talk about this is my Ralph's or this is, my King Supers. I just love to hear it because it's something that they're creating that connection with that store in a way that, we can't do a whole lot outside of that once they just feel that connected to the store. So there are a couple of ways outside of private label with those exclusive products that you can only find at a Kroger store. One thing is really focused on communities and having that store reflect the community that it serves. when we travel around, I love to go and grab some of those local products. And for Denver, we had some Olathe corn that we brought back one time when we were traveling out there when it was in season. And not only does that make it easier for folks to feel connected to their store, it also reduces the footprint of it taking the time from a product to get from a farmer to the store shelf, which, while that's of course great for the environment, it also gives customers more days of freshness on the backside of the product. So the more that we can do to make the stores reflect the communities that they serve, to give them great products that they can only find with us, and then to be full every time that they're there. Because if I need 7 items on my list and I can only get 3 of them, I'm going to leave and go someplace where I can hopefully get all 7. We know that people do visit about 3.5 different grocery stores for their weekly shops. But the more that we can offer everything that someone needs, that they don't have to go somewhere else, it just makes their life a lot easier.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's interesting. When I'm old enough to remember when generics, we called them not that store brand, right? They were literally white boxes with black block text, right? A white box that would say macaroni and cheese. That's it, right?
No
So it
brand.
no brand, no
no
brand, right?
brand.
No brand. Yeah, just a plain white box that had whatever was in it, and clearly not valued as a quality offering or a differentiator. It was just something from a price point that was more competitive than other brands in the store. So it's been fascinating to see that evolve. One of the things, as someone who works in communications and issues management, that's always fascinated me. I mean, with 2,700 stores in 35 states, I'm sure that there's not an issue in food and agriculture that doesn't come across your desk, right? Somebody who's lobbying for something, specific outcome. They don't like the price of eggs. They move the peanut butter, whatever it is. But there are always those challenging issues where, if you pick a side, people are going to be irritated because, retail is a game of addition, not division. So how do you manage that when you've got all of these different complex and challenging issues coming across your desk with people pounding on the door saying Kroger should, whatever, right?
Yeah, I would say we manage it better some days than others. But in general, I feel really blessed to work with a great team of folks. And when a big issue comes to us, we kind of unfortunately, we have a routine at this point because we've had so many of these, but we'll get together as a leader team and say, okay, where do we stand on our values? So how do our values reflect how we might want to respond? And then are our customers or our associates looking for us to respond? So there might be some larger international conflict where, you know what, no one's looking for Kroger to wade into this, and we will kind of pass on it. We also work with an amazing research firm who can give us an idea of, okay, so retailers aren't really talking about this. It's the tech folks who are the ones who are more responding. So I like to say they give us data instead of just vibes, which is how sometimes it feels like we operate. But those sort of key pillars of like, where do we stand on our values? Do our customers and associates expect us to say anything? And then what are our competitors and compatriots doing really helps set us up to make what has been so far, I think, positive decisions in those spaces. And, we know that if we have an internal communication, that'll probably also go external. So we have to weigh that of, do we want to just send something internally, understanding that it's probably going to get posted to Reddit or what have you. But again, how do we kind of thread the needle as we come up to those different decision points of what's the right thing for us to do for our associates and our customers?
I think that's such a brilliant strategy because when we work with organizations that are struggling, oftentimes they haven't asked the question, is our position or proposed position aligned with our values? Do we have domain expertise? And do our key stakeholders actually care if we take a position? And if you put it through those 3 filters, the answer generally is relatively obvious. Not going to make everybody happy, but in terms of aligning with most of your stakeholders, you should be in pretty good shape.
One of the things I like to remind folks is even no response is a decision. So it's not you're saying, right, I'm not going to do anything and, we're just walking away from it. That's a conscious decision that sometimes maybe we should all make a little bit more often.
Erin, it was a duh moment for me when you were talking about the issues that come up from your customers and associates. I always think about customers. And of course, with 400,000 employees, I mean, you have a rep sample, or probably pretty close to being rep of US. I'm just curious, 2 things. Are majority of the issues or is it evenly split between customers and associates? And are the issues similar that they're bringing
Yeah, I'll
up
have
to you?
to. It's a great question. I can't think of in the past 3 years that I've sat in the seat of something where customers and associates have been diametrically opposed, or customers are saying one thing and associates say we don't care about that. To your point, we just have so many associates. They come from all walks of life, and we actually were looking at the data recently. Our associates, the makeup of our associates actually pretty well reflects the makeup of the US. So anything that comes up externally, we'll hear from our associates and from our customers if they feel like they want us to say something about it.
Yeah. I'm curious of, you're talking about the data and the use of the data from the outside and, the technology there. I'm curious about technology and just the use in shopping and how that's changing things, so, it's not just I'm going to run to the store for milk anymore. It's I'm getting sent coupons and I'm there and I'm partially shopping on my phone and I'm partially shopping or I'm going and I'm getting it delivered to my car, all that kind of stuff. Like, where's that going from your perspective? Like, I'm just curious, like how you're thinking about the change in how we shop going forward.
It's moved so fast. I think
Yeah.
with the pandemic, it combined 2 years of people being more willing to explore digital down to about 2 weeks of time when the world shut down. What we're seeing that I think is the biggest aha change, because we keep talking about people want to shop how they want to shop, they want to get the
Mm,
things that they want. Time as a convenience is sort of the piece that's coming through for us a little bit more this year than it had in the past. So all
mm,
of our lives are busy. And while, you want something that you can get quickly, like a ready to heat meal is something that we would think of as convenient, or we would think of 2 hour delivery as convenient before. But how do we think about how our customers want to spend their time, and what does convenience mean to them? So
mm,
can we merchandise a store that has a meal that you can get out of a bunker, just all of the pieces together? And then how do we support someone who wants to kind of wander through the store and take their time and find the things that they want? And it's really thinking about how do we fit the modality of how someone wants to shop, present them the right coupons that they need at the right time to feed their family, and then support them through making meals fun is really how we look at the work.
yeah. I think it must be just really difficult in a sense. I mean, for the number of people that shop your store, the types of people that shop your store, the fact that you have to do both, you have to be there for both, I think is the fascinating part, because there are people like me that I'm not shopping on my phone. I want to read everything. I'm curious about exploring. And then to your point, there's someone who's got 3 kids and they got to get you know what I mean? That's like a very different, but you have to serve both. I think that's fascinating.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the
dawdlers annoy me.
selection.
I mean, if you're a dwaddler on the aisle, just that's annoying.
I
And
don't want to ever shop with you,
people
Charlie.
who go to the grocery store without a list, I don't know how you do that.
I never
I
have
mean,
a list.
I
you
don't
never
have a
have a list?
No.
No, no.
Well, only
Oh my
sometimes.
gosh.
I enjoy
Really?
exploring, which I know that's like I'm sure there's a name for me within the within the segmentation for Kroger, but I don't.
8451 knows you, Kevin.
I'm
84,
sure they
and
do.
they know
No,
me. And
But they
know
have
know
to
me,
you.
serve
right?
all of them, and I think that's what's interesting, and they have
So,
to develop for all that.
so
So
Erin, on this topic, I would kind of assume because of scale and sophistication that in the digital space or tech space, that Walmart and Amazon are probably the top competitors, given your size and what they do. But is there someone else that you can tell me that you are thinking about watching, or who's doing this really well that you're like,
I mean, Walmart and Amazon definitely own the tech and digital space, and Amazon in particular does just, I need it now and it'll be here in 3 hours type of a thing.
mhm,
But I think you have to kind of look at bits and pieces of how everybody's operating. So Walmart, of course, and HEB are experimenting with these
mhm,
micro digital fulfillment centers that are connected to their stores. So
Hmm.
they run their pickup and they run some delivery out of there. So it's kind of a what's everybody doing and how can we create the best of all of the worlds.
mhm.
Interesting. Well, now I've learned I don't want to go shopping with Kevin. So,
no, no.
yeah, not
But
going to
It's
happen.
Kevin,
you
I think
see
has,
things. You see things though that you don't see
That is
normally.
true. That is very true. And oftentimes I've been reminded to stop and smell the roses. So,
Well, you see things that you're like, I didn't know they sold pickled pig knuckles or something like that, and it's
yeah.
like, that's interesting.
Yeah, like pickled herring, but probably not pickled pig knuckles. But I don't know if they have them. All right, we're going to transition to the quiz. Erin, thank you. This has been incredibly insightful, and I
Yes.
really, really appreciate you being available twice because I know your time is in great demand. So thank you for that. So we're going to turn it over to Quizmaster Kevin who is going to try to stump us today. And he sent these questions to my team for the event in California. And despite all kinds of threats and pressure, they've never shared them with me. So I'm flying blind here.
That's right. Yeah, they assured me that they have been sealed, hermetically sealed, and
They
that,
have
and that
been.
Charlie, even though begging, has not
Yes.
seen them. So,
I've not.
all right. So the topic here is food first. So first things, first occurrences, all that kind of stuff. So the number one, and Susan, you're going to think that you have this one wrapped up. Maybe you do. Maybe you do. Verner's Ginger Ale. I know that's a Michigan favorite. Verner's Ginger Ale is the oldest soft drink in the U.S., first being sold in 1866. Verner's tagline is deliciously different. Why did James Verner call it that? Is it A, his recipe included old flavorings and syrups that he forgot about for 4 years while he served in the Civil War? Is it B, his original recipe was bright blue and often dyed the mouth and tongue of his customers? Is it C, the original formula contained horseradish in addition to ginger, giving the soda a powerful punch? Or is it D, Verner's was powerfully carbonated, requiring a special bottle to contain the stimulating fizz?
I'm going to go with the horseradish, just because I like
Horseradish.
horseradish.
Okay. Susan or Erin?
I was going to say horseradish too. That just
Okay.
sounds like it would be a fun add to a soda.
Yeah.
So it definitely has to be around the horseradish or the fizz, because if you've had Verner's, it will clear your sinuses before you even get it in your mouth,
Yeah.
which is probably what I need to go find right now.
It is none of those. It is actually A.
No. What is it?
Really? The
is
things
it?
he left, he forgot
He
because he was
left
in the
it.
Civil War?
He went to the Civil War. He was basing it off of a flavor he found in Ireland, and he bought 19 ingredients and cast, and then he got called off to the Civil War, and he came back, and everything had concentrated in the wood and aged in the wood, and that was what caused the flavoring.
Oh, that's why there's a barrel on the.
That's right. That's
I
right.
thought he probably just forgot that what was in the barrel was horseradish.
Probably, yes. And today, Susan, you probably know this, the flagship bottling plant in Michigan is in Holland, Michigan.
So I know exactly where that is, but I
Yep.
did not know that was, we also have a Kraft Heinz factory where they make everything but ketchup.
Okay. They
Grape
probably even
on
make
vinegar.
horseradish, prepared horseradish.
They probably
May.
do. I could have horseradish and Verner's.
And soda. Okay. All right. Number 2. What was the first manufactured breakfast cereal? Was it A, Mastica, developed by health reformer Jebediah Wilson in 1879? This cereal was twice-baked wheat nuggets that required extensive chewing, which supposedly aid digestion. Was it B, granola, invented by James Caleb Jackson in 1863? Granola was made from whole grain, bran-rich flour, and was so hard it had to be soaked overnight before being eaten. Was it C, granetta, created by John Henry Thomas in 1881? After seeing the regularity of his livestock after consuming a whole grain meal, it consisted of coarse blend of crushed and baked rye and was advertised as stomach cleansing. Or was it D, Tostine, developed by Walter Hodgkin in 1877? This cereal consisted of tiny whole grain Melba toast-like pieces that needed to be warmed before consumed to activate the energy of the grain.
Well, first of all, I'm surprised that it isn't cornflakes, yet another Michigan brand, but I'm going to go with C.
Yeah, I was going to go.
Granetta.
I was going to go with C as well, the stomach cleanser. Right, that's the
Okay.
stomach cleanser one. I think that. And by the way, the stories are fabulous, regardless of who
I
it
can't
is.
believe you make 3 of these up.
Sometimes it's difficult. Erin, what's your thought?
I'll be different. I'll say B.
B. You are correct. Erin
All
is
right.
correct. It is granola. The cereal was manufactured from not granula. The cereal is manufactured from a dough of graham flour, which is basically whole wheat flour, rolled into sheets and baked. And then the dried sheets were then broken into pieces, baked again, and then broken into smaller pieces. And John Harvey Kellogg later copied the product and renamed it to avoid being sued by Jackson.
Wheat Bix.
And then, into granola. And then Kellogg
granola.
incorporated a rolling process to flake the grain, making it more palatable, and you didn't need to soak it. So it was very different. All
Yeah,
right.
Mastico. I thought that was
Oh,
beautiful.
that was
I thought
horrible.
that was really.
You
I know,
like
but
that?
it was so intriguing.
Maybe that's what I'm going to launch next. All right. 3. Twinkies were the first shelf-stable cream-filled snack cakes. How did Twinkies get their name? Was it A, the name was taken from a popular vaudeville act called the Twinkie Twins, named for their acrobatic routines and bright yellow costumes? Was it B, originally marketed as a twin pack snack? The name was shortened blend of twins and snack, which eventually evolved into Twinkies. C, the name was inspired by a billboard for the Twinkle Toe Shoe Company, which Twinkies inventor James Dewar said he felt was light and fun name. Or was it D, a popular newspaper comic strip in the 1920s featuring a mischievous cat named Twinkie the Tabby, and the name was borrowed to give the cakes a playful, kid-friendly appeal?
Oh wow! I'm going to go with the condensing the two names into one. That's
All
B, I
right.
believe.
Yes, B, the
B.
twins and snack. Yep.
Yes.
Erin or Susan?
So I had chocolate covered Twinkies at my wedding. Y'all need to know that.
Okay. Yep.
And I'm going to go with C.
We probably need to know why, but that's a story for later, I'm sure.
C. Okay, so Twinkle Toe Shoe Company. Okay. Erin?
In honor of my cat who has not yet made an appearance here, I'm going to go with the last one.
D. Okay, Twinkie the Tabby. All right, Susan, which makes sense if she had them at her wedding, is correct. It
Very
was
good.
actually Dewar worked for the Continental Bakery Company, which still exists, driving a horse-drawn cake wagon, which that's a whole story in itself.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And he noticed that the machines that made strawberry cream-filled cakes sat idle most of the year when strawberries weren't in season. And he
Oh.
developed a cake because the original Twinkies were banana flavored.
It's
The
all
original
about
ones-
asset utilization.
Oh.
Yes. So he said, you know what? Bananas are available all year. Let's make banana flavored. And then he saw this ad for Twinkle Toe Shoe Companies and he thought, that's a great name. That's where we got it from.
But which banana at that point in time?
Oh,
It probably would have been the Gros Michel.
oh, yeah, the
Michel.
Gross Michel.
Yeah, it would have
Yeah.
been. All right. 4. I think it's tied, Susan and Erin. Okay, 4. Adam's Blackjack Gum, my dad's favorite gum, was the first packaged gum ever sold. Which political figure played a large and unusual role in the creation of this gum? Was it A, Ulysses S. Grant, a known cigar enthusiast? Grant supposedly chewed early versions of the gum, and he invested in Adam's company, seeing it as a profitable tobacco alternative. Was it B, Grover Cleveland? During his presidency, Cleveland pushed for tariff reforms that made imported ingredients like chicle, which is the base of gum, and licorice more affordable, indirectly helping Adam's Blackjack Gum gain popularity. Was it C, Otto von Bismarck? The German leader was a believer in discipline and efficiency, and Bismarck supposedly encouraged the use of chewing gum among his military officers to help them stay alert, and he bought most of Adam's supply. Or was it D, Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna, the exiled former Mexican president, brought Mexican chicle with him to New Jersey when he was exiled in hopes of selling it to raise funds to help him return to power in his home country, and he sold his chicle to Adams.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, just wow. I'm going Ulysses Grant because
Ulysses S.
cigars. No.
Cigar, yeah.
Nicorette
okay.
before Nicorette.
Before, yeah, that's exactly.
I'm gonna go with B, which is right after Grant.
Grover Cleveland.
Grover
okay.
Cleveland.
Yep. Okay. Tariff reform. Erin?
I'm going to have to say Cleveland since I'm sitting in Ohio. That's the one that's speaking to me today.
All right. Nope. It is D. It is Antonio Lopez
Get
de Santa
out.
Anna. Adams was a photographer. The guy that invented this. Adams was a photographer and inventor, and he intended to vulcanize the chicle he got from Santa Ana for use as a rubber substitute. But his efforts didn't work out and vulcanization failed. But he noticed that Santa Ana liked to chew the chicle, which the ancient Mayans had done before him. And he was disappointed with his rubber experiments, and Adams boiled a small batch of chicle in his kitchen and created chewing gum, the first chewing gum. So, yeah, first commercial chewing gum. All right. Last one. Goo Goo Clusters are considered the first combination candy bar ever sold. And a combination candy bar means it's not just solid chocolate, it has other stuff in it. Where does the candy bar Goo Goo Clusters get its name from? Is it A, the original marketing campaign emphasized the candy's rich caramel and nougat, calling it golden goodness, which was eventually shortened to Goo Goo? Was it B, the Nashville candy was originally sold at the Grand Ole Opry, or GOO for short, hence the name? Or C, the bar is named for a baby's first words, which is why the company still says so good they'll ask for them from birth. Or was it D, in the region of Tennessee where the candy was made, fluffy marshmallow was sometimes called Goo Goo by bakers, so the name reflected one of its first key ingredients.
I'm going to go
Oh,
with C because I thought maybe it was going to be an 80s girls band, but that's probably something else. So,
All right. Okay. Baby's first words. Aaron, Susan?
golden
I'll go
goodness.
with, yeah, that's what I was going to go with as well. Yep.
Golden goodness. All right. Charlie is correct. The company contends that the candy is named after the babbling of a baby. However, 13 years after its creation, Goo Goo clusters were sold at the Grand Ole Opry, which is known as GOO in the region, Goo. So there is some connection there, but they say it was the baby. So
I think we have a three-way tie.
I think you do. I think we
do.
really do. So
That's
know
the
what?
first time
everyone
we've
You
ever
know,
done
it was
that.
the baby because of that baby logo
yes.
for Hershey's.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, with the baby inside the cacao pod.
Yes, the baby in the cacao
I'm
pod.
just getting that out of my mind, and thank you for bringing that back
Don't
in.
Google it, Aaron. Don't Google it.
All right, three-way tie.
I think my microphone is misbehaving. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Kind of.
Yeah, okay. Just my headphones are misbehaving, so I will unplug those. There can be a lot of back noise. All right, so thank you again for joining us for another edition of 3Squares. Aaron, we are very grateful for you to make an encore appearance, and if we can ever return the favor, please let us know. If you have anything you would like to share with us or a request you would like to make, you can make that at 3squaresmail@gmail.com. 3Squares, the numeral 3squaresmail@gmail.com. Please avoid kale so you don't have COVID at any time in the near future. And we will see you next month on 3Squares. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one. Take care.
Thanks. Yep, bye.